Welcome back, everyone. It's Oscar here again. Long time no see or long time no talk, but thankfully we're back. Finally done with school, so that means we're back to making some videos. So today we'll be talking about probably one of the most favorite casino chip manufacturers, if not my favorite at the moment, and that's going to be the TRK company. So TRK, TR King. There's many different ways you could say this company's name, but those are TRK and TR King are like the two most predominant ones that everyone in the chip world says, so TRKs. So this information that I found, going to be found at trking.com as well, but this is going to be like more of a video format. So let's get right into it. So in the early 1920s, Milton Anderson started a gaming supply business in Kansas City. This was in the era known as the Roaring Twenties and the Jazz Age. Things were starting to look up. So Milton named the company TR King because his favorite president was Teddy Roosevelt, and the King crown molds were used. On March 16th of 1929, Milton and his wife Adeline filled out a registration for a fictitious name form as two half-partners in the business that would be located at 617 Grand Avenue. 2 years later, in 1931, they moved to Los Angeles, California, and TR King would start producing casino chips, dice, gaming tables, and equipment for many Las Vegas casinos, as well as smaller Nevada towns like Reno and Lake Tahoe. Now, what made these chips so favored and memorable was the small and large crown chip molds that TR King used. In 1956, Milton wanted to sell his company. He approached his salesman, who was Paul Andy Sr. at the time, and who, with a partner being George Davies, agreed to buy TR King. Afterwards, TR King continued to do well under the new ownership, and their chips made it to California, and sooner or later they would be all over the U.S. From sea to shining sea, the small and large crown chips were being used in all of their glory. Unfortunately, in 1970, Paul Andy Sr. and George Davies were having conflicting business visions, and unable to come to a conclusion, they would end up in a small courtroom where the judge told them that one partner needed to sell his half and the other had to buy it. Paul Andy Sr. would end up selling his half to Davies. The GM at the time was Charles Endy, who was the son of Paul Endy, and he would leave right after his father left. Charles would start another business, which was called the Top Hat and Cane Company, which manufactured chips differently than TRK did. Paul Jr. would come into the picture as well here, being that he also worked for TR King when his dad was the owner. He would come to Vegas and start Paulson Dice and Card Incorporated, or Paulson Dice and Card Company. Davies would end up coming to Las Vegas to join Paul Jr. to run and become part of Paulson. Davies also took on a partner, Roy Osterhart, and they owned and operated TR King together. In 1974, they would stop selling in Nevada, and it was suspected that the Nevada Gaming Board prohibited TRK from selling chips to its casinos because they refused to stop dealing in items like marked cards and crooked dice to the public. TRK product catalogs from the 30s and 40s featured these items. Shortly after, Osterhout's son-in-law, Dennis O'Neill, joined the team. He worked hard and got to the position of GM, and eventually he would become the owner. At this time, the custom orders of the 80s and 90s for home games would start to happen, and this is why you see many of the older style casino chips have fake versions that were manufactured after casinos closed, because they had all the inlays and dies in-house that made it possible for these chips to be able to be manufactured still by those that wanted the real looking and feeling chips from their favorite casinos. In 2006, O'Neill closed TR King forever. The company ran for over 80 years and created over 3,000 custom unique designs and more chips than we could probably think of. Once TR King fully closed, Dennis O'Neill sold the die, color recipes, hot stamps, and we think the edge spot punches to BCC, and kept the loved small and large crown molds, as well as the clay recipes. It was reported that he didn't want anyone to use those chip molds ever again, and that they were gone forever. Being that the original TRK chips contained lead, the formulas for creating the chips would have to be reformulated to be safe for today's standards if anyone was going to use lead. But now CPC, known as Custom Poker Chips, has those dies. They acquired them in late 2017, early 2018, and since then CPC started manufacturing these chips around October of 2018. For those that still wanted to have the chance to have their own custom small and large crown TRK chips. So that's the history of the TR King, a company that was famous for creating those small and large crown chips, as well as many other styles of chips, dice, and cards. Everything that a casino needed, TR King would have probably had back in the day, and it'll go down as one of the greatest companies to be a part of the chip world. And so many of those chips are still being used around the world by many that love them. I want to thank you guys for watching this video. Hope you guys learned something, and if you did, please drop a like on the video. If you're new here, please subscribe and share the video with your friends. I'm finally done, like I said earlier at the beginning, with the semester for school, so that means more videos are going to be happening and they're going to be coming soon. So thanks again, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.